guys, it's Daniel Dawson with Professional Home Buyers of the Twin Cities. All right, so I want to briefly hit on a topic that we get a ton of questions on with homeowners, right? Especially in this marketplace. Do we list with a real estate agent or do we sell to a We Buy Houses company, a professional home buying company, very similar to us that buys homes as is in its current condition, right? So now there's pluses and minuses to both sides, right? And each scenario is going to be different depending on your unique situation, right? There's not a one size fits all. Sometimes listing with a realtor is the best thing you can do to maximize your profits. And then sometimes it makes more sense to do a sale through a professional home buying company like us, right? Who buys it as is. Because when you're selling a property, a lot of times it's not just all about how much money you can make, right? Sometimes you want convenience, right? Sometimes your situation, let's just say your mom goes to a nursing home and you need to sell her house, so you inherited it. The place has been outdated 40 years and it's got full of furniture that you don't want, nobody wants. You don't want to clean it out. You don't want to have to do repairs. You'd rather just sell it as is, be done with it, let somebody else deal with that issue. In those scenarios, that's where you're trading some of your equity, right, which you potentially could get if you put it on the market. Since you don't want to deal with all the repairs and inspections, all these layers of risk, you're saying, I'm willing to take less just to know it gets sold for the convenience and be done with it. Okay, so there's different situations depending on yours, but I'm going to hit on both these. There's pluses and minuses on both. This is not us versus real estate agents. Realtors are great, most of them. There's a time and a place for them, and oftentimes when we're actually doing an in-home visit with a homeowner that's contacted us, a lot of times we might actually say, you know what, this property, best option for you, I believe, is go through a real estate agent. So keep that in mind. We're here to give you information. We're here to give you education. And if it happens to work where you like what we're saying or what we're offering in our process, then we would love to buy your property. If not, there's the real estate agent route, or there's different routes as well too. So keep that in mind. So let's kind of briefly come through here the pluses and minuses, because a lot of people have not sold a home often, right? They may have only sold one or two homes over 40, 50, 60 years, right? So they might not be familiar with all the steps and fees. So generally speaking, with a real estate agent, you have more layers of risk, okay? Each one of these represents a layer of risk where the deal could fall apart. It could cost you thousands of dollars. It could cost a lot of inconvenience, but there's also potential to make more money depending on the condition of your house. Now, if your house has been updated the last 5, 10, 15 years, hiring a realtor might be the best option. But if your house is outdated, it needs a new roof, it needs windows, or you're in a situation where you need to create money quickly or access that equity quickly, a home buying company is going to be the best one, because we take on a lot of that risk by renovating a property and then reselling it. But if you're in no hurry and your property's updated, using a realtor might be the best option. So let's quickly go through this. So closing costs and commissions. Do not forget about this, right? Generally speaking, a real estate agent is going to charge you anywhere from 6 to 7% commission. On top of that, it's a normal practice usually. When a home buyer puts your property under contract, they're going to request that you pay up to 3% of their closing costs. So that puts you up at 9, 10%. And then you've got your closing costs as well to cover, which can vary anywhere from 1 to 1.5%. So you can be anywhere from 10 to up to 12% closing costs. So if you think, for example, you're selling your house for $300,000, well, it's actually more like $270,000, and that's if you went under contract at asking price. A lot of times, it's going to be a little bit lower than asking price, 5 or 10%. So keep that in mind too. Just because what you're asking usually is not what you're going to get, just depending on what market cycle we're in, okay? And the condition of your house, locations, schools, all that stuff. So you're going to knock 10%, 10 to 12% off that immediately, okay? So showings, right? Your property could sell in one showing, or it could take 30, 40, 50 showings. Is that something you're willing to tolerate? Are you currently living in that house and you don't want 30 people going through there? Well, probably double that, because there's going to be 2 or 3 or more people in that showing. So if you're living there, it's inconvenience you having to leave every few hours or every few days for a couple hours, and people trample through your house. That's a major deal. A lot of people do not want to deal with that inconvenience. Now, if your house is vacant, hey, that works out better. Or if your property's updated, hey, and clean, that works great. But if you have a situation where if you're selling a rental property, you have a bad tenant, you're probably not going to be able to get them in there. If you inherited a house or you're in a situation where your house needs a lot of work, guess what? You're not going to want 30, 40 people and then nosy neighbors coming by as well too and having a sign in your yard, right? You're not going to want all that, okay? But again, if your house is updated and you're willing to tolerate that, this is just one of those necessary steps you have to take. And then it does go under contract. Now here's the inspection time frame, right? So inspections are something that obviously buyers get to do, and then they get to negotiate what gets repaired on the inspection report. Or they have the option to say, you know what I found on this house I do not like. I'm going to back out. I'm not even going to negotiate these repairs. We've had that happen with some of our rehabs where even though the things are nice and new inside, we may have overlooked or didn't see something that was wrong in the attic or a floor joist, and now they didn't feel comfortable where they completely backed out. So now you start back at step one. But usually you're going to have not just one inspection. You're going to have the home buyer inspection. Excuse me. You're going to have a termite inspection, sewer inspection. You could have a radon inspection, lead-based paint, a roof. So you have all these inspections, and then when the buyer gets it, they say, hey, there's 40 things on this list, and I want these top 20 fixed. And now you can negotiate that. So on average, what we've experienced, right, with our rehabs, when we sell them, we're usually spending somewhere around $5,000 to resell it just from between city inspection and then home buyer inspections. So keep that in mind. So you're going to have to coordinate repairs or do them yourself and spend the money. Sometimes they require permits. Sometimes they require drawings that need to be submitted to the city. Okay. Sometimes you need to get an architect or an engineer or have your plumber pull a permit, right? So that is another layer of risk and expense that you have to pay out of pocket. Okay. Those are repairs. Okay. I got a question mark here because obviously you don't know. Sometimes we've had repairs that only cost $2,000. We've had them there $8,000 or $9,000. So that on average we see about $5,000. Okay. That's from our personal experience from selling properties. Okay. Appraisal. So then you move on to the next step. So you got all that agreed to and you're going to repair those items from the inspection list. Now you have to have an appraisal. Majority of the time, yes, appraisers come in and they appraise for the property for what it's under contract for. Very normal. But depending on the market cycle, especially like we are in now, where there's a dip we're going into. We're going a little bit of recession in 2020 with the coronavirus, right? So now when values are sinking, guess what? We have seen this in the previous market cycle where appraisals are coming in lower. There's a chance that property might be worth $10,000, $20,000 less than what's under contract. Now you have to negotiate with the buyer. Are you willing to accept less? Are they willing to pay more? So that's just another layer of risk. And then you have the buyer's financing. It does happen. It's happened to me a lot. Okay, where a buyer may lose their job a couple days or a couple weeks before closing, no longer qualify for that loan. So again, you're starting at step one again. Or they decided they'd make a boneheaded move and they decided to get a brand new car 3 days before closing, and then a lender, they always pull your credit before they do the clear to close, okay, to see if your debt to income has changed. Have you made any late payments? All those things affect their qualification. So all of a sudden you've got an additional $500 car payment. Now all of a sudden it throws your debt to income ratio off. Now you don't qualify anymore for that purchase price. That can fall apart or they lose their job. Okay, so there's lots of layers of risk when it comes to a real estate agent, but you do sometimes have a potential for greater profit depending on the condition of the property. Okay, so then we switch over here to home buyers, right? Professional home buyers of the Twin Cities. There's a lot of different companies out there. We pride ourselves. 2003, we've been in business in the Twin Cities here, doing business, helping homeowners, and it feels amazing. Okay. So, first and foremost, closing costs. You don't have to pay no commission, no closing costs. In fact, the 1 and 1.5% closing costs that you are required to pay, we actually pay. We actually cover that for you. The only items during the closing that you may have to pay for is if they find out there's a lien on your property. Let's just say you had a water heater replaced and you never paid them. They'll throw a mechanics lien on your property. And when that gets sold, that's part of your responsibility. They'll pay that at the closing table. Okay, so showings, we come in there, One time, we'll negotiate an offer right there. I'll show you what we think we can do based off the rehab budget that we're seeing in order to fix it, in order to bring it up to standards, in order to sell it and make a profit. Okay, we'll show that to you. We'll inform you about our process and give you some material as well. If it goes under contract, if we agree to a price, great. If not, a lot of times it's been a scenario where we've said, hey, your best scenario is actually to list with a real estate agent. Why don't you try that first? If that doesn't work, reach back out to us and then we'll go from there. Or in some cases, where the homeowners actually had some available capital and we suggested that they do the renovations themselves or hire a contractor to do the renovations in order to get a higher price. So if you're not in a hurry and you're trying to get as much money as possible, doing the realtor is still perfectly okay, and we'll be completely upfront. If we're not a fit, we're not a fit. We don't buy every house that we actually go and see. A lot of times, this route is the best for the homeowner. We'll be honest and straightforward with that. So when it comes to inspection, so once we agree to a price, we do have an inspection, but it's significantly different than the home buyer's inspection. We just go through there. It's for our information only, not to negotiate, okay? Unless there's something in there that is outside of our scope of work, say, we bring our sewer guy there so we can scope the sewer, camera the sewer to see if there's any breaks in the line. Sometimes we've had them where this whole sewer's laterals collapsed. And if that's the case, sometimes we have had to come back to the seller and say we need a negotiation to lower the price to account for this broken sewer. It doesn't happen often, but if it does, we'll bring it to you. We'll try to negotiate from there. Because regardless if it's found here or here, one of us are going to find it, right? And it's going to have to be addressed, okay? And we don't require you to repair it. A lot of times we'll just ask for a reduction in the purchase price. So rather than having all these inspections and then negotiating them with you, we get them for our information. If there's anything large that we need done, we're going to try to negotiate that with you. We're not going to come through here and bust your back about having a loose door knob. We don't care about any of that stuff. We're looking for the major stuff, okay? Not very often do we actually have to renegotiate a purchase price. Repairs, we're going to request 0 repairs to be done. Okay, that's beautiful. Appraisals, we get no appraisals done. Financing, since we don't use banks, traditional banks, we use between our own capital or we use our private lender capital. Okay, that's not financing the borrower. It's either our capital or we financing the deal. Okay, which is a significantly different avenue to go after. So now some negative things here, right? So you have to really watch in this marketplace. There's a lot of newer real estate, we buy houses companies, right? And sometimes these people are not upfront what they're doing with their property. Okay, they need taking your property and trying to resell it to somebody else who might be trying to resell it to somebody else. It's called a daisy chain, who might be able to try to sell it to somebody else. Okay, for us, we have multitude of exit strategies. We're not exactly sure what we're going to do. We might buy and renovate and sell it. We might buy, renovate, and rent it out. We might buy it and rent it out. We might buy it and owner finance it out to a home buyer. We might buy it and turn around, resell it to another rehabber within our partnership program. Okay, so we have multiple exit strategies, but as long as you are getting the number we agreed about, you don't really care about our exit strategy. So you need to make sure that you're dealing with somebody that can actually close. When they say, hey, we're going to close this deal, there's nothing major on the inspection report that we need to negotiate. We're going to go straight to closing or whenever you want to close. So that is a very big deal. This is an industry that has a lot of fly-by-night companies. Make sure they're a real company, that they're a local company. There's so many out-of-state companies that are coming to the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, metro area, because it's got such a dynamic, diverse work community and quality of life and very high demand. So you need to make sure you're dealing with a company that can actually close, right? So there's the pluses, there are the minuses on both sides. Real estate agent, again, can get you most. If your house doesn't need work, if you're not in a hurry to sell, if you need cash and your property needs work or you don't want to deal with it and you want to trade convenience for closing quickly, that is the way to go. So thanks again, guys. I hope your day is going great. From us here at Professional Home Buyers of the Twin Cities, call us, email us, smoke signal us, whatever you want to do. Even if you just have a few questions, even if you're a wholesaler locally and you're trying to figure out how to do things and grow your business, reach out to me. We're here for you. Let's do some business.